All right, guys, so we're going to go over the notes, or going over lesson 11, or 12 today. Now, unfortunately, there aren't any note sheets because we ran out of paper. So what we're looking over today is circle area and circumference. So the areas of circles and circumferences. This isn't anything new. We've done circles before. Y'all have done them in geometry. Circles are kind of nice figures to work with. All right, guys, once you finish doing that, let's put the Chromebooks away. You can close them. But we are doing this here. So, a number of children are standing in a circle. They are evenly spaced. So we have a circle. On one side of the circle, we have the 7th child. On the other side, we have the 18th. So the number of children on one side of this circle is going to be the same as the number of children on the other. So if we go from 7 to 18, so we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And how many kids are between the 7th and 18th kid? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 over here. So we have 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we also need 1, 2, 3, 4. So the number of children in the circle is 22. So again, this question can seem very confusing from the outset what they're wanting, but a lot of times with some of these questions on ACT, it is helpful to draw it out. Draw it out and draw a picture to represent it to go from there, because if you have a picture, it's a little bit easier to see and understand what we're talking about. 22 children standing in a circle. Circles work backwards. Now, before we get started with the lesson, we do the quick check, just some of the vocabulary terms that we have. Now, the first one's a ratio. A ratio is a relationship between two different values or amounts. So fractions, proportions are ratios. So if we said the ratio of boys to girls in the classroom, well, this ratio would be what?
7 to 1.
It'd be 0 to 7. 1 to 7. Now, 0 to 7 and 1 to 7 is a ratio, guys. Amen. So, 1 to 7 is a ratio we call part to part. Part to part, because there's one guy in here and 7 girls, so part to part. Now, if we said part to whole, the number of girls in the classroom would be 7 to 8, because 7 to the whole, part to whole. So it is good to know the difference between these two. Part to part, we're just talking about the individuals in the group, not the whole group. The radius is the length of a line segment from the circle's center to its perimeter. From the center to a point on the circle is the radius. The diameter is, as the whole thing, a straight line, any straight line that passes through the center of a circle whose endpoints lie on the circle. The diameter is the longest line we can draw from two endpoints on a circle. Circumference is the measurement of the distance around a circle. Just measure the distance around the circle. Inscribe. If we inscribe something, is to draw a figure within another so that the boundaries of one touch but do not intersect. So we talk about inscribed angle, an angle on a circle. And circumscribe. to draw a figure outside. Now, what is the formula of the circumference / perimeter of a circle? You guys remember the circumference formula?
C equals 2 pi radius.
2 pi times the radius. Or we can say the circumference is pi times the diameter, because the diameter is twice the radius, so diameter is 2r. So we could say it is 2 pi r or pi d. The area of a circle is pi r squared, pi times the radius squared. Now, we're going to look at a formula, or looking at this here, dealing with circumference and radius. The Zirconian Martians travel the outermost ring of Saturn 3 times before realizing they are going in circles. How far of the way have they traveled before they get back on the route towards their destination? So, what would their distance be? Right, so we've used the circumference. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r or pi times the diameter. And if we use this here, what value do we get?
1.3.
Can we actually answer it?
No.
What are we missing? Right, we need the diameter or radius. Now, it turns out the radius of Saturn, so Saturn, so the radius of Saturn, if we go from the center, its core, to the surface of Saturn, it is 36,184 centimeters.
Where'd you get that?
No, I have it here, and also it's not centimeters. 36,184 miles is the radius of Saturn. Now, they weren't just on the surface, they were at its outermost ring, and the distance from Saturn's surface to its outermost ring is not 8,000 miles. It is 8 million miles. The outermost ring of Saturn is 8 million miles away from its surface.
But in the picture, it looks real close.
Yep. But if we talk about the overall radius, it's going to be 8,036,184.
So would you do the pi times that?
So 2 pi times 8,036,184.
That is a lot.
So this would be 8. 58.
68.
So we have this here. So 16,723,068 pi. Is that how far they traveled?
No, you times that.
Because again, they went 3 times around. This is just once. So we'd have to multiply this by 3. Now we can leave it in terms of pi. 4, 0, carry the 2. So if we multiply 16,723,068 by 3, we should get, so 4 carry the 2, 18, 0, carry the 2, 2, 9, 6, 20. Mm-hmm.
48,200,000.
Okay.
Okay.
48,
How did you get that close?
48,169,204? Or what'd you get?
48,217.
217. Okay.
on. That's for me.
1607. That's where. That's what happened. 07. 07. 2368. Okay, that makes sense. 48. I think it was 48. Yes.
Yeah, 48, 104.
So, the distance they ended up traveling out of their way was 48,217,104 pi miles. And if we added the pi in, it would be almost 100 million. Or approximately 151 million miles. Good thing their spaceship travels very fast. Otherwise, it wouldn't be quite feasible. That would take forever to actually travel. I do not. Yeah, I've got all three. So, what would the circumference of circle A be?
Oh,
Because circle, the circumference is 2 pi r, and the radius is 5.
I think the 2 times 5 part.
So 2 times 5 times,
Pies.
which would be?
10 pi. 10 pi. Did you guys have pi day in like 6th grade? No. Yeah, we had.
Yeah.
In May.
Yep.
You guys never had pi day? Pi day? March. No, pi day? March. What is March?
And if we approximate, guys, let's focus in. If we approximate pi as 3.14, it will be 31.4 units. Now again, when you're solving with pi, you need to make sure to read the question and see what it asks. Because there's some that say just to approximate pi or approximate your solution. And that means you can actually hit 10 pi and tell it to fraction it, or put it in a fraction or as a decimal. Because as we know, pi is irrational. It's a non-repeating, non-terminating decimal. Now, on some of them, they will tell you to approximate pi as 3.14. Now, for some answers, doing the pi key or 3.14 will give you about the same result. However, there are some, based off the units or based off the numbers, that it can give you a different result. So it is imperative to pay attention which one it wants. Does it want you to actually use a fuller approximation of pi or 3.14? What would the circumference of circle B be? Because we said that the circumference is 2 pi r, but what else is it?
20 pi.
And if we wanted to approximate, we can say 20 times 3.14. What? Because we can multiply that pretty easily. 3.14 times 2, 6.28. Move the decimal 1 unit to the right. 1 spot to the right. Questions on this here? If the circumference is 30 pi, going around is 30 pi, we want to find the radius. Well, what's the diameter going to be? Because one of our, Formula is 2 pi r, yes?
Yes.
The other one was diameter times pi. So what's the diameter going to be? Mhm. So the radius is,
15.
because that's actually what it was wanting, the radius, which is.
15. They asked for the diameter.
And the reason I went with diameter, because if they give us, guys, if they give us the answer of the circumference in terms of pi, the diameter times pi is the circumference. Or really, all we're doing is we're taking the circumference with 2 pi r, dividing both sides by 2 pi. Well, pi over pi will cancel, and 30 over 2 is 15. Guys, let's focus in. Now, area. The Zirconians leave behind cryptic message in the form of crop circles all over the fields of this planet called Earth. Solve for the area of each circle to decipher the message. That explains what the aliens demand from the Earth citizens. Now, so the last thing we're going to do is this here. I'm going to let y'all work independently. Go on and work by yourselves. See if you can get the answer, because this is the last thing we're doing today. We'll do the practice tomorrow.